Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Thursday, 2 days away now. The countdown is very much on to the North London derby on Saturday. Arsenal taking on Spurs Saturday at lunchtime. Of course, at the Emirates, I will be there. Looking forward to it, feeling ill about it. Usual feelings ahead of North London derby, always the same, no matter how old I get. Always approach it with a sense of excitement and dread, both about the same level as well. And I'm sure you are experiencing that as well. And some bad news ahead of that game against North London derby. Not that he was going to be involved anyway, but we know it for sure now. Emile Smith Rowe, bad news for Smith Rowe. He has undergone surgery on that groin issue that's been troubling him, not just for this season, but for pretty much the whole of 2022. Arsenal have been desperately trying to find a way to get him back to full fitness, to get him through this sort of troublesome groin injury that he's been having for so long now, that's kind of linked to his growing, his body changing. It's not an easy injury to be able to sort out, and so that's why they've been trying to manage it as best as they can, get him through it, sort of limit his playing time, but in the end they've had to finally sort of go to the last ditch option, which is surgery, which is something they've been trying to avoid because clubs always try and avoid putting players under the knife. But unfortunately, after what happened against Man United in the warm down, when he really had a bit of a setback on that one, that they've decided after consultations with various specialists that surgery is the way to go. And Arsenal haven't announced it. They confirmed it today in a statement, which reads as follows. In recent months, Emile Smith Rowe is experiencing discomfort in his groin, which has limited his training and match appearances following a significant setback at our Premier League match against Manchester United at Old Trafford. And after further specialist consultations and discussions with our medical team, Emile underwent surgery to repair a damaged tendon in his groin. This successful surgery took place in London in the past few days, and Emile's rehabilitation programme is already underway. We are hopeful that Emile will return to full training in December. And everyone at the club wishes Emile best of luck in supporting him during his hard work. So out until December, which, well, at least a couple of months, and that's till full training. They reckon he'll be back in December. Obviously, there's a big break from club football coming up fairly soon because of the World Cup. That starts in November. And so, although it sounds like he's going to miss 2 months, technically it's not going to be that full length of time because club football finishes in November and doesn't start up again until Boxing Day. So, given the time frame that Arsenal announced with Smith Rowe, you kind of look at December the 26th, that first game back after the World Cup break, is the one that hopefully he'll be able to come back to. And it is a blow, no doubt about it, but I think in a way as well it might almost come as a bit of a relief to Smith Rowe, because this has been going on for a long time now. As I said, it's not just been this season, but it's last season, the second half of last season as well, and they just haven't been able to get it sorted. It's a really difficult one to try and manage. He's not really been able to train very much. He's not been able to play. I mean, he's not started a game in the Premier League yet, only 4 substitute appearances, and you can see that it's affected him. It's had a big impact in his performances and on exactly what he can do, because he's just not at full fitness. Because if you're not training very much, it's very hard to play at your top level in the Premier League because it's such a demanding league. And so you kind of look back to the first half of last season when Smith Rowe was fully fit and he was firing, he was scoring goals, he was creating goals. I mean, they played Tottenham on Saturday, Arsenal, and you think back to this time last year, the North London derby, when Arsenal blew Spurs away in that first half, when Smith Rowe scored the opening goal, he set up the second for Aubameyang, and him and Saka were just absolutely flying, tore Spurs to pieces. And then he sort of wind the clock forward a year to this point, and you can see the difference which is happening with him. So it is a real blow, not just to him, but for Arsenal. But I think, as I said, in a way, it's going to be a bit of a relief, because Smith Rowe will be hoping now that, all right, we've taken the decision, we've actually gone with the surgery. Hopefully now, when he comes back, it will be something that, is the worst would have sort of be behind him, and you're able to come back and hopefully be fully fit. There's no guarantees, obviously, and that's why no one really wants to go with surgery. But you can only go with what the specialists tell you and what the medical experts tell you. And if they've decided that surgery is the way to go, then that is the way to go. And hopefully, as I said, when Smith Rowe comes back in December or whenever it is, he's going to be able to get back towards his full fitness and then make the sort of impact that we saw him make last season. And it's going to be really, really important to Mikel Arteta and to Arsenal that Smith Rowe does come back, because he's going to be he's a vitally important member of this squad. Given the amount of games that Arsenal are going to play once the World Cup is over and they come back in December and have that just mad second half of the season where games are going to be coming thick and fast in all competitions, and you need a big squad, and you certainly need Smith Rowe for that. I mean, looking at what Mikel's options are now without Smith Rowe, they're pretty limited. The wide options now are looking very, very small for Arsenal, given they didn't bring anyone else in during the window aside from Marquinhos. And maybe he's going to get a big opportunity now. He's more of a right-sided player, we know that, but he can play on the left-hand side. So you just kind of look at what options Mikel's got now on that left-hand side. There's no one other than Gabriel Martinelli, and that is a problem because you can't play Martinelli in every competition. We already saw when he made huge amounts of changes for the Europa League game over in Zurich. One of the changes he didn't make was on that left-hand side because he had no other options, so Martinelli had to play that game as well. And that's asking an awful lot of him to be playing every Premier League game, then flying around to Europe as well, and starting in every single Europa League game. That's just asking for trouble with Martinelli. He's got to get a break at some point. You've got to use another option. Smith Rowe was that option, but without him, you look at it and think, who else is there? And so you're going to have to get a little bit creative on that left-hand side. And Marquinhos is definitely an option. Very strong on his left foot. We saw that. We saw that in the game against Zurich, obviously, and you just feel like he's going to have to get a big opportunity now. Maybe Arsenal aren't sure that he's ready yet, and that's why they haven't used him in the Premier League. But it comes a point where you're going to have to go with a little bit of trust in him and see if he can do a job at that level and not just the Europa League. There are other options. You could potentially play Zinchenko high. I don't think that's going to be the number one option because Mikel obviously likes him at left back and he likes him moving into that left midfield role. Whether you really want to play him on the left-hand side of a front three is another thing. He'll do a job there because he's a very talented footballer. His technique's excellent, his left foot's excellent, and there's no doubt he'll do a job there. But he's not really an out-and-out left winger, is he? We know that he's more of a left-back midfielder. But you might have to go with that if you want to give Martinelli a breather. Reiss Nelson is now back, which is a good thing. He's trained all week. He came back before the international break, and he's been training all through that break as well. So he's fit again. He's better on the right hand side, but he can play on the left. So that is going to be another option for Mikel Arteta. And these are all things he's going to have to think long and hard about now because up until the World Cup break, Arsenal are playing every week, every midweek, and you can't overload Gabriel Martinelli. You really can't. You've got to give him a break at some point. And so this is a blow. There's no doubt about it. Losing Smith Rowe is a big blow, and Mikel Arteta will be desperate to get him back quickly. He'll be really hoping, fingers crossed, that this recovery goes smoothly and that he is back by December and he can play a massive part during the second half of the season because, Arsenal, you look at the squad, and I think they've got a good squad, Arsenal, no doubt about it, but there are a couple of areas that they're like that you couldn't really afford any issues to happen with, and one of those is the wide attacking positions, and unfortunately, that's what we've seen now with Smith Rowe. So, yeah, difficult one for Mikel Arteta. He'll be, like I said, he'll be sitting there right now with his fingers crossed that this sort of 2-month time frame is not going to extend anything over that. Now, let me know what you guys think. How much of a blow is this to Arsenal and to Smith Rowe? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And who do you think should be the sort of main backup between now and Smith Rowe's return for Gabriel Martinelli? Do you think Marquinhos deserves to go in the Premier League? Do you think Zinchenko is a viable option on the left-hand side of the front three? Let me know, as always, in the comments below. Okay, so Arsenal-Tottenham tomorrow. Like I said, in yesterday's video, Mikel Arteta's press conference is on Friday, 1pm. I think it's 1pm or 12 o'clock. 1pm, I think it is, ahead of the game on Saturday lunchtime. We talked about the Arsenal injury news yesterday. The main ones about Thomas Partey, Zinchenko, Tierney. So if you haven't seen that yet, head over to yesterday's video or have a look on goal.com. My socials where I did the latest injury updates. News from Tottenham is that they are got a few injury sort of issues at the moment. Not sure anyone's been entirely ruled out. Kulusevski came back from international duty with a bit of an injury, by the looks of it, a muscle injury, maybe tight hamstring, something like that. And so he's a potential doubt for them. Lloris as well, I think he came back early, didn't he, from France with a potential issue. So we'll wait and see. I mean, the Kulusevski one, at the start of the season, that would have been more of a blow for Spurs, but recently he's kind of lost his place in the starting 11 with them, and you kind of look at how well Richarlison has done recently for Spurs, and you imagine he will be starting in this one. He's had a very good international break, scored in both games that he played for Brazil, scored for his first goal for Spurs. Goals for Spurs before the international break in that Champions League game against Marseille. And the way you look at the way Richarlison plays and his character, he's going to thrive in the sort of North London derby. I think he's going to be very, very up for it. He's going to try and annoy Arsenal. So I'm not sure Kulusevski would have started anyway, even if he was fit. I think you're looking at the front three of Kane, Son and Kulusevski, all of them in form. Like I said, Richarlison playing well. Son scored his first goals for Spurs this season before the international break, scored while he was away on national duty as well. Harry Kane's just Harry Kane. So, yeah, Arsenal going to have to be at their very best defensively to keep out that front three, no doubt about it. It's going to be some really intriguing battles in that game. It's going to be so important, the individual battles, who comes out on top of those. You look at Arteta, Conte for one on the touchline. It's almost going to be as interesting watching those two on the sidelines as it is watching what goes on the pitch on Saturday. There's definitely going to be a little bit of bad blood, you would think, and animosity after what happened in the game at Spurs at the end of last season, what Conte said about Arteta. So that's going to be an intriguing battle. Who beats who in the tactical nous competition from the managers, and then you've got some really big individual battles on the pitch there. Kane versus Partey if he's fit, and can Partey deny Kane the space to be that playmaker that he loves to be, dropping into the deep sort of positions and playing the balls through to the runners like Son on the counter attack. You kind of look at Martinelli down that left hand side of Arsenal's attack and who he could come up against on the right hand side of Spurs defence. Probably Emerson Royal, although he played Perisic I think last time against Leicester in that position. But I think that's an area that Arsenal are going to really look to exploit. You look at Højbjerg versus Odegaard. It's just so many really interesting battles there. Jesus versus Romero. I mean, that's just got feisty written all over it, hasn't it? Arsenal versus Spurs, Brazil versus Argentina. We know what Romero's about. We know he's going to try and wind up Jesus. I think that's going to be a really interesting one to watch and to see who can come out on top in that one. It's just such an evenly matched game. It really, really is. And I'm really, like I said, looking forward to it, dreading it all at the same sort of time. And I'm sure you guys all are as well. Mikel Arteta's press conference tomorrow. I think Antonio Conte's is then as well. I don't think he's doing it today. I'm not sure. I haven't looked, but I haven't heard. I haven't seen any of the Spurs reporters down at the training ground for that one. So I imagine that might be around the same sort of time as Mikel Arteta's tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for all the very latest sort of headlines from those press conferences. I will be at London Colney, so I'll do my usual updates on social media and do whatever big stories come out from that, and try and do a video as well if I get time from London Colney tomorrow. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. Until then, have a very good day, everyone. Enjoy your Thursday. I'll speak to you very, very soon.